Hi, I'm Georgie with POCculture.com. Hi, Matt. Thank you for talking with me today.
Yeah, it's nice to see you, Georgie.
First, I just wanted to tell you that I really love the show. I watch it every weekend with my parents. It's great. First off, can you talk me through how you first got involved with the show?
I was a part of a very long casting process for this show. I actually auditioned for it, I feel like for the first time, probably almost to the day last year, like today of last year. And I remember getting the sides and being like, "Oh my gosh, this is perfect. Like this, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get this." And I didn't get it. And like 2 weeks later, I had a buddy hit me up and be like, "Hey, can you put me on tape for this new show? I got to do it." I was like, "Yeah, sure." And he shows up, and it was for this, and I was like, okay, I definitely didn't get it." And then the next week, they ended up actually calling me back to meet with producers over Zoom and stuff. And then again, I didn't get it. And about 2 or 3 weeks later, I flew to Florida to shoot something. And right when I landed, I got an email saying that they wanted to see me again. And I was like, well, this stinks because at my house, I've got a whole setup for auditions. Whereas in Florida, all I had was my phone. So I had to tape my phone with duct tape to the wall and try to maneuver what little lighting I had in the room, and then on my phone do a chemistry read with George Lopez and Mayan Lopez. And about 45 minutes later, I got a call saying that I got the role. So it was a very long process that was grueling, but absolutely worth it.
Wow. So, what was it like doing the auditions, by yourself, and then all of a sudden you were like with mine and George? What was that like for you? Because it's G-Lo.
Well, I didn't know he was going to be on the call. So it was one of those things where like it popped up and it was just me and the casting director. And they were like, "Okay, you're going to read with George and Mayan." I was like, "Oh, what?" And then it was like a quick cut and it was all of a sudden it was just George and Mayan. And I was like, oh, I'm here. And they had actually earlier on in the day sent out new sides, and it was the scene was all about how Quentin was Mexican. And I was like reading it and I was like, "Oh, this isn't going to work." And so George was like, "Hey, just so you know, we're not going to do that first scene." And I was like, "But I memorized it." He's like, "Yeah, but you're not Mexican." And I was like, "Yeah, but I memorized it. So like I could still do it." He's like, no, we're good. We're good. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing like being caught off guard by having George Lopez pop up on your screen and go, "Okay, now you're acting with me." So
Wow,
it was nerve wracking.
that's crazy. I can't even imagine. I've heard you describe this show as the most fun you've had. Can you tell me about like why that is?
It is my dream job for so many reasons. Multicam has always been my favorite format to do, and I haven't been able to really do it since I was 18, 19 years old. And so when this came back around, that was kind of the first thing that was like, "Oh, this is the best job ever." And then I met the entire cast and the crew and the writers and everybody, and I was like, "This is too good to be true." They all want to collaborate. They want my opinions. They want my ideas. They want me to tell them about my own story and how that might intertwine with Quentin into the story. And that was kind of something new for me. I wasn't used to people wanting to hear my opinion. I was always kind of just had that thought of like, I'm just lucky to be here. I'm going to stand in the background and say and do nothing until I'm talked to. And it was within the first 4 days, it was like, no, we want you to speak up. We want you to have an opinion and your ideas. And that was such a blessing for me because I hadn't experienced that in my career yet. And so kind of combining all of those things together, it really, made me kind of take a step back and go, wow, I got my second chance to do this type of show again and not take it for granted and embrace every moment. And I've just been trying to do that as much as possible.
That's awesome. Yeah, that collaboration sounds incredible.
Yeah.
What is it about your character, Quentin, that makes him fun to play as an actor?
I love that he's not your typical TV dad. I was playing, I've never played above the age of 25. And even then, 80% of my resume is playing high school. So all of a sudden, being a dad on television, it was like a crazy wake up call of like, oh, I'm there. I'm that age now. Um, and then it was just like he's not your typical TV dad. He's empathetic and he's emotional and he's sensitive and he wants to listen and he wants to learn and that's something that I don't think you see from a lot of sitcoms is kind of the dad who's willing to learn. It's always kind of, oh, the dad's, the mess and kind of the one who has all the antics. Whereas Quentin is very much like, he wants to learn, and he wants to be able to help everybody. And he wants to, he's not worried about being right. He just wants to learn what's right. And I think that's super important and not something we see a lot on sitcoms. So that's, that was like the main thing where I was like, this is going to be a special character.
Definitely, yeah. And recently we've got to spend a lot of time developing Quentin with the episode with his father, and then this week's improving his relationship with George. Of those two, which one was kind of more fun for you to dive into his emotions,
Oh, well, I mean, they were both great. I think I told the writers when we took a break, I was like, I can't thank them enough, because all of the material that they've given me so far is like all of the things I always wanted to do on television, but was never playing the role that would deliver those things. And so it's tough, because that scene that I had with George in Lopez versus Van Bryan, where we hug for the first time, and you see that was a really special moment for me. And it was also, when we filmed it in front of the audience, it was extremely special because George got actually emotional, and that made me emotional. And so, by the time we're doing our fourth take, like, we're both like teary-eyed over this, and it was like, whoa, this is crazy. But then for this episode, he has a moment where he kind of stands up to all of it. And that was something I always wanted to do, where it's like, you know what, screw it. I'm not trying to be masculine. I don't care what is normal for a man. I want to be a good person. And this is not me being a good person. And so, it's a little bit, they're both so special to me, because they both let me do things that I've never done before in television or film. And that was so important to me. And I'm just so lucky to have been given the opportunity to do those things.
Yeah, it reminds me of George's line to Quentin's father, where he's like, it's not our idea of success, but our kids, they're happy. And that's
Yeah.
so different and emotional. Well, thank you so much for your time, Matt. It was so great to meet you, and congratulations on the show.
Thank you very much, Georgie.
Thank you.